Hello everyone, this is Call, and what I'm going to talk about today is I want to talk about sexual transmutation, what it is, why it's important, and ultimately why meditation is a necessary and essential component of sexual transmutation. So the reason I'm doing this video is there was a man who contacted me through my emails who asked these questions, and I realized that I haven't done a video on this, so here we go. So sexual transmutation is me state it how the Taoists have explained it to me through their literature, that is. Uh, and that is Jing, Qi, and Shen. Okay, so Jing is the raw form of sexual energy. That is the sexual energy which most of us probably connect to on an everyday basis. It is the mundane, raw form of sexual energy. Qi is life force energy, essentially. It is the energy Jing that is transformed into Qi, and this is through the process of awareness and also practices, techniques, etc. And then eventually becomes Shen, which is spirit, right? So that is when the mind and the body unite, the ego is essentially honoring intuition, etc. So it all kind of merges together as one force, which is spirit. So now that all seems relatively vague. So let me let me take it from the basics. The word transmutation is essentially the change from one form to another. Okay. Now, one of the misunderstandings around sexual transmutation is that sexual energy is somehow not connected to your digestion, is somehow not connected to your cognition, your mental clarity, um, general wellness, immune system, etc. It's all the same energy, right? So it's all essentially going into one energetic well. And what we're attempting to do is we're trying to make this well as full as possible. So transmuting sexual energy is, in my opinion, one of the essential things for men to do. Not that women can't do it too. Of course, women can. Um, However, women, it's different. Men were constantly discharging this energy, so most of us are really never functioning optimally with a full well of energy. And to me, it's part of an overall lifestyle approach. And what do I mean by that? It means like diet, exercise, supplements, herbs, sexual energy. These are the things that I incorporate into my life, and most of all, daily practice, sadhana, yoga, meditation, etc. All these are incredibly important. Keeping the life force energy flowing freely, keeping the individual centered, and ultimately, like I said, not becoming a slave to the energy itself. So the reason sexual transmutation is important is because most of us become essentially identified with our sexual desires. And what do I mean by that? That means horny rises. We can't deal with the pressure that is horny, so we rub one out. Or we go find sex somehow, for those of us who are fortunate to have partners, we discharge through that route. And I'm not saying this is bad. I'm saying it's simply energy lost. And if you're aware that there's energy lost, then you can make that choice. And if you continue to choose to ejaculate and to release that energy, that is up to you. So essentially what we're doing with sexual transmutation usually involves a practice, some sort of technique or practice. And basically anything can be a sexual transmutation practice. We'll use the example of push-ups because I always make fun of the dudes who are on you put videos on YouTube and talk about like knocking out a ton of push-ups in order to deal with their sexual energy issues. So the reason just push-ups in and of themselves are not sexual transmutation is because the individual is not connecting to that energy. And what do I mean by that? So hey, horny rises, right? Then the individual instead says, hey, I'm just going to shift my attention to something else. That is not sexual transmutation. There's no connection there, right? So this is what sexual transmutation is. Again, we'll use the example of push-ups. So let's say horny rises. The individual's like, okay, here it is. So he connects to the feeling, to the sensation. Not to the fantasy necessarily. I mean, you may have to go into the fantasy or the visual or whatever it was that initially kind of triggered this energy. But what you want to do is you want to reduce, 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 connect to the sort of the basic charge. So again, the horny feeling in and of itself. Once you feel the horny feeling, where's it in your body? Okay, for me, it centers around the pubis, right? So the pubis, the genital region. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to connect to that area, and you want to contract your pelvic floor gently. Inhale a deep breath, and do your push-ups. Exhale on exertion, inhale, right? So exhale exertion, inhale as you're going down. So you knock out your 15, 20, 50 push-ups, whatever it is. But the point is you connected to that energy. You activated your pelvic floor, which pulls the awareness down inside the body. And you took a deep breath, which helps elevate and move the energy up to the chest. And then you're doing push-ups, which then shifts the focus to the heart center, the chest, etc. Now, that is a very basic sexual transmutation practice. And again, because all you did here is you shifted it from energy that was concentrated and centered around the genital area up to the heart, but not through repression. You didn't avoid it. We didn't look the other way. You connected to it. So that is a sexual transmutation practice. You could do this as a basketball player. You could do this as a martial artist. You can do this literally. Hey, I'm going to go for a run. Horny feely rises. You inhale, contract the pelvic floor, feel it up to your fingertips, down to your toes. Just feel it out throughout the entire body. Just again, what you're doing when I'm saying feeling out is you're moving your awareness. You're moving your awareness from the genitals, down your legs, to your feet, up to your chest, out through your fingertips. And again, this shifts the energy, right? Energy flows to where the attention goes. And this is how you liberate yourself from the potential slavery that sexual energy sometimes can do, is we can become very enslaved by it. So that is essentially what sexual transmutation is. Why it's important also is for those individuals who are interested in activating the higher glands. Everything is a spiritual or energetic pressure. So if I want to, let's say, have access to, more clear access to my intuition, instincts, gut instinct, visions, astral projection, whatever kind of woo-woo you're interested in, usually it requires sufficient energetic, I would say, uplift or pressure in order to activate the sort of higher glands. And that's the function of a lot of practices. Like, for instance, when I fast, fasting is a way of building up your energetic reserves. I have way more visions and my dreams are way more vivid when I'm fasting. And it's because energy isn't being shunted to the digestive process. So hopefully you understand sexual transmutation a little bit better. Again, it's nothing particularly complex or difficult. I have certain practices that I teach, I've taught in these videos, that essentially deal Mahabandha, the Great Lock. It's essentially like energetic hydraulics. So you're moving the energy all the way up through all the chakras. And that is I would say, a more precise approach to it. But again, generally speaking, do some push-ups, play some basketball, whatever it is, but connect to the energy first and be very conscious. So why is meditation important? Meditation, now I'm speaking about open awareness meditation. I'm not speaking about, like for instance, in Kundalini Yoga, the system that I was initiated into, and I still do every single day for 20 years. So Kundalini Yoga is one of these systems that has thousands of quote unquote meditations, right? And I would actually rather rephrase the term meditation in this particular context as being concentration, right? So a lot of the Kundalini yoga exercises have like, oh, you put your fingers into this and you hold them up, palms facing the ceiling, you touch your tongue to the roof of the mouth, you roll your eyes up, and you have a mantra you're doing, you're pumping your navel point, you're doing all these different things. But what you're doing is that you are bringing your awareness entirely into your being, which focuses all the energy that can sometimes be outside of ourselves, right? Now, what do I mean by outside of ourselves? Outside of your center. If you're thinking about something, worrying about something, focusing on something that is outside of you, meaning work, relationship, this, that, you are out of your center, right? So these practices, which have all these different points of concentration, what particularly points of concentration as it relates to the body itself and the energy in the body, what it does is it pulls all those sort of I will say those energies that are outside of you, it pulls them all back in and centers and channels it. Now, those are concentration practices. So, what is meditation? I would say, and I'm speaking again very fundamentally, I'm speaking more along the lines of open meditation, which is you sit, straight spine, cross leg, you can sit in a chair, feet flat on the floor, whatever it is, and you simply watch what rises. It's not even watching, that's like actually too active. We'll say things will rise anyway, right? So thoughts will rise, emotions will rise, worries will rise. Um, any of a number of things will rise, sensations, feelings, etc. And you simply want to be objective and witness those things that rise. Now, why is this important as it relative to sexual transmutation? Well, if you're doing a yoga practice, Tai Chi, Qigong, Nidan, martial arts, any sort of practice, exercise is going to move energy. So most of us, we simply do the practices, the techniques, the exercises, but we often don't add the meditation portion. So we missed an opportunity. The opportunity with meditation, and this is why I always say you should do at least 5 minutes after any practice. The opportunity there is to be present with what rises. Now, what could rise really depends on the practice you did, but the point is that energy is in motion. Anytime you're doing an activity, it moves energy, gets energy in motion. So, and again, you could witness almost anything. If I do a lot of pelvic floor work, I'm constantly contracting and working my pelvic floor. Let's say I do it for like 10 minutes. I'm doing, pulsating the area around my perineum. If I did that for like 10 minutes along with some breath, it's going to stir some things up along my pelvic floor. So anything that I might be holding along that space, along the pelvic floor, might be released or not. Again, you can have no expectations. When people say, oh, you do this, you do that, you're going to get these very specific results, I cry bullshit in that regard. You will get what your subconscious is ready to show you. And so that's what meditation for, open awareness. Again, it's open awareness. You could have right hand over left, your thumbs resting in your lap, and you just sit there and you allow whatever to rise up. And just keep in mind, emotion is really interesting. So as the emotion theoretically rises up to the surface, think about emotion as energy in motion, right? So we have a tendency to become identified with the emotion. Oh, I'm anxious. Oh, I'm sad. Oh, I'm happy. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. In meditation, we're learning how to be objective with whatever it is, whether we like it or don't like it. The reality is what we're attempting to do, even if it's happiness rises and you're like, oh, I feel full of love and joy, or horny rises, right? So what we're attempting to do here is we're attempting to stay centered within our body, within our form, because it's a slower resonant state. It's a more grounded state of being. And if we stay in a more grounded state of being, essentially, again, all of our energy is sort of building and building and building and building over time. We have more life force to engage life. So as energy rises, the emotion rises. Again, you always want to do is think about it for a second, is to one, okay, I'm objective to it. This is something that's in motion and it's transient, it's temporary. So it's only passing. Otherwise, it's not who you are, right? So it is not your identity. It is not who you are. You are not that emotion. You are not chronically anxious. You are nothing that your psychologist tells you you are. Do not own those things. They will simply rise to the surface, right? And so what we're learning here is, again, simply to be objective with it, connect to our true nature, which is presence itself. And how you do that is, let's say sadness rises. Oh, I feel sadness here. So where do you feel it in your body? And you move away from why am I sad? You move away from even defining it as sad, and you connect to, oh, here it is in my body. Again, you're anchoring into something that's a slower resonance that is more grounded. And this will help the energy transform. And again, the signals that we constantly give our subconscious, the more we connect to the body, the signals that we send to the subconscious are very clear. It says it's okay to let these things go, because otherwise the subconscious will simply hold. It will hold things as a pattern as long as we continue to feed it energy. So what feeds it energy is the expression of an emotion, meaning we'll say victim, right? I am a victim. This is, well, kind of an emotion, but it's also a state of identity, right? So I'm a victim, and as long as I get off on being a victim, let's say social media. Social media exalts my victimhood. It says, "Yay, you're such a victim, you're such a victim, you're such a victim, you're such a victim," and you get a bunch of likes for bitching and whining about your victimhood online, and then people are like, "Oh," they keep giving you validation for your victimhood. So, in other words, there's no incentive for breaking away from that, other than if you can recognize how remaining a victim over time represses your energy. It doesn't allow you to transform and to become who you're supposed to truly become in this lifetime. It is a challenge. It is a point of growth for you if you can recognize that. So again, what you want to do is you want it, victimhood rises, whatever the thoughts about victimhood rises, you immediately want to identify with it. You drop into the sensation. You drop into the feeling, and you move away from defining it. You don't repress it, nor do you express it. You simply allow it to move, right? And the only way to allow it to move is to feel it and to be objective with it. So hopefully that's not too confusing. With all that said, if you are a man and you're looking for guidance, you need sexual energy coaching. I offer a 6-week program. And through this program, essentially, we will help you rebuild your life force. We'll help you get your energetic well completely full. And so even though we're dealing with sexual energy, that is a focal point. The reality is about your overall vitality, is about your overall life force, so that you can engage life, earn more money if that is your wish, to improve your career if that is your wish. But the point is to move past this sort of feeling of exhaustion, the feeling of feeling burdened and weighed down because you don't have enough energy to go through it, to push through it, and to overall have a more optimistic outlook on life. So if that interests you, my email, or not rather my email, but my website is posted down below the video. And you can go ahead and check out my website and look at some of my other services, such as astrological chart readings, etc. So with all that said, thank you much.